You never really know what you're capable of till someone really pisses you off. My past life? It was supposed to be perfect. I was Jake, a man who had everything he thought he wanted. A loving wife, Sarah, a stable job, and the dream of a family on the verge of becoming a reality. The betrayal was absolute. It came not from an enemy, but from the person I shared my bed with. My rival, I discovered, wasn't another man in the traditional sense, but my wife's all-consuming devotion to her manipulative ex, Marcus. And my death? It wasn't physical. It was the death of a future, the murder of a dream, executed with a single bank transfer. I died the day I realized the woman I loved had stolen our baby to save her past. The numbers on the screen are stark. 0. A perfect, hollow circle where $47,000 should be. Our baby fund. Gone. I blink, refresh the page, but the 0 remains, mocking me. A single transaction dated yesterday tells the whole story. Transfer to Morrison and Associates Legal Defense. The name rings a faint, discordant bell. My gaze drifts to the kitchen counter. Sarah's coffee mug, a cheerful yellow one I bought her, is still there, a faint lipstick stain on the rim facing me like a tiny, triumphant smirk. It's still warm. She was here just an hour ago, probably smiling at me over the rim of that mug, the lie already coiled in her heart. My hands start to shake. It's a tremor that begins in my fingers and radiates up my arms, a physical manifestation of the tectonic shift happening inside me. Weeks. She's been planning this for weeks, while we were picking out cribs online, debating the merits of oak versus white pine. While we were holding hands in the waiting room of the fertility clinic, whispering reassurances to each other. It was all a performance. The thought is a physical blow. I stumble back, my hand landing on the cool marble of the countertop for support. Every shared smile, every hopeful conversation about our future child now feels tainted, twisted into a cruel pantomime. She was playing a part, and I was the unsuspecting audience. A wave of nausea rolls through me. The clinic. Our appointment. It's tomorrow. 18 hours from now. Our last shot. My 40th birthday is next month, and with it our insurance coverage for fertility treatments evaporates. We'd scraped and saved for 2 years, putting every spare dollar into that account. It was more than money. It was our last chance, a carefully constructed nest egg for a dream we were terrified would never hatch. And she just gave it away. Morrison and Associates. The name clicks into place with sickening clarity. Judge Morrison, Marcus. Her ex-boyfriend, Marcus, the perpetual train wreck, was in trouble again. Drugs, probably. It was always drugs. And Judge Morrison was presiding over his case. The money wasn't just for any lawyer. It was for the best. A high-powered firm to defend the man she swore was out of her life. My breath catches in my throat, a ragged, painful gasp. I need to talk to someone who might make this make sense, even though I know deep down that it can't. I pull out my phone, my thumb hovering over Sarah's name before swiping past it. I can't talk to her. Not yet. My finger lands on Emma's name. Sarah's best friend. My friend, too. Or so I thought. The phone rings twice before she picks up. Jake, what's up? Is everything okay? Her voice is bright, normal. Too normal. The words feel like shards of glass in my throat. I force them out, my voice cracking, betraying the calm I'm trying to project. The money's gone, Emma. What money? What are you talking about? The baby fund, all of it. Sarah transferred it to a law firm. There's a silence on the other end of the line, a beat of hesitation that's just a fraction too long. In that small gap of sound, I know she knew, maybe not everything, but she knew something. Jake, Did you know? I cut her off, and the question sharp, accusatory. Did you know she was defending Marcus again? Another pause, longer this time. When she finally speaks, her voice is stripped of its earlier cheerfulness, replaced by a weary resignation that confirms my worst fears. Jake, we need to talk. The world narrows to a single point of focus. The betrayal is a living thing, a venomous creature coiling in my gut, but beneath the pain, a cold, hard resolve begins to form. She will not get away with this. The dream she murdered might be dead, but I am not. Before the shock can paralyze me, I act. The drive to the bank is a blur. I walk into the sterile, air-conditioned lobby, my face a mask of grim determination. I sit across from a bewildered-looking branch manager, my voice steady as I explain the fraudulent transfer. By noon, every joint account is frozen. Every credit card we share is locked. I cut off her access to our shared financial life with the precision of a surgeon severing a diseased limb. Next, the police precinct. The officer who takes my statement is a large, weary-looking man with a kind face. He listens patiently as I lay out the facts, my voice devoid of emotion. I show him the bank statement, the transfer details. I explain what the money was for. He scribbles notes, his expression shifting from detached professionalism to something approaching sympathy. "Filing theft charges against your own wife," he says, more a statement than a question. "That's a big step." "She stole our future," I reply, the words flat and final. A big step is all I have left. I find her in the parking lot of her office building. She's leaning against her car, scrolling through her phone, a picture of carefree innocence. The sight of her sends a fresh wave of rage through me. She looks up as I approach, a smile starting to form on her lips before it falters at the sight of my expression. "Jake, what are you doing here?" "I froze the accounts," I say, my voice dangerously quiet. "All of them." Her eyes widen, a flicker of panic in their depths. "You what? Why would you do that?" "Why?" I let out a harsh, incredulous laugh. "You're seriously asking me why? The $47,000, Sarah. The money for our baby." She has the audacity to look away, a flush of guilt coloring her cheeks. "I was going to tell you." "When? After the appointment we can no longer afford? After you'd spent every last cent on him?" "He needed it, Jake." "He needed it?" I take a step closer, my voice rising. "What about what we needed? What about the family we were trying to build?" Her chin lifts, the guilt replaced by a flash of defiance. "Marcus needed me more than some hypothetical baby." The words hit me harder than a physical punch. Hypothetical baby. She dismisses our dream, our years of trying, the emotional and physical toll it's taken on us, with two callous words. In that moment, whatever love I had left for her curdles into something bitter and unrecognizable. "It wasn't hypothetical to me," I say, my voice trembling with a mixture of rage and grief. "It was everything." I turn and walk away, leaving her standing there, her mouth open, the full consequences of her actions finally beginning to dawn on her. My next stop is a small, quiet coffee shop, the kind with mismatched furniture and the scent of roasted beans hanging heavy in the air. Emma is waiting for me in a corner booth, a look of profound unease on her face. She doesn't waste time with pleasantries. "I'm so sorry, Jake," she begins, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't know she'd take the money. I swear." "But you knew she was seeing him again," I state, my eyes boring into hers. She nods, her gaze dropping to the table. "For a couple of months now, secretly. He was arrested on drug charges, serious ones this time. Possession with intent to distribute. He was looking at real prison time. And she decided to play savior. She's always had a blind spot for him," Emma says, her voice laced with a frustration I recognize as genuine. He calls and she comes running. But this is different. I told her not to. I told her she was throwing her life away. She didn't just throw her life away, I say, the bitterness sharp on my tongue. She threw mine away too. Emma reaches across the table, her hand covering mine. Her touch is warm, comforting. I know, and it's not right. We sit in silence for a few moments before she speaks again, her voice hesitant. She called me, frantic. The bank, the credit cards. She's locked out of everything. She knows you went to the police. Good, I say, a grim satisfaction settling in my chest. Jake, what happens now? Before I can answer, my phone buzzes. It's the detective from the precinct. Mr. Davison, he says, his voice professional but not unkind. Your wife has been in contact. She's distraught, and she's making some claims of her own. What kind of claims? I ask, my heart sinking. She's alleging a history of controlling behavior, financial abuse. I let out a short, sharp laugh, devoid of any humor. Of course she is. She gets caught stealing, so she plays the victim. Look, the detective says, his voice dropping slightly. This is a messy situation, a domestic dispute. Officially, I have your statement, and we can proceed with the theft charges. But unofficially, I'm giving you 48 hours to see if you can resolve this. Talk to lawyers, talk to each other. If you can come to some kind of agreement, it's better for everyone. If not, we press forward, and it gets a whole lot uglier. 48 hours. The detective has given us a deadline, a window to either salvage something from the wreckage or burn it all to the ground. As I hang up the phone, looking at Emma's worried face, I know there's only one path forward, and it's not towards reconciliation. The 48-hour clock is ticking, a relentless countdown to a future I can no longer recognize. I can't go back to the house we shared, a space now contaminated by her betrayal. Every object, every photograph would feel like a prop from a play I never knew I was in. Emma, seeing the dazed, hollowed-out look in my eyes, offers me her spare room. Her apartment is a quiet sanctuary, a small, clean space that feels blessedly free of shared history. It's a refuge in the storm, and I accept her offer with a gratitude that leaves me choked with emotion. That evening, as the city lights begin to twinkle outside her living room window, we sit on her comfortable, slightly worn sofa. The air is thick with unspoken words, with the shared knowledge of a friendship and a marriage in its death throes. Emma, sensing my need for something more than just platitudes, pulls out her phone. "You need to see this," she says, her voice low and serious. She hands me the phone, her thumb already having opened a text thread between her and Sarah. My eyes scan the messages, and the cold knot in my stomach tightens. The texts are from a few days ago, before the transfer, before the world fell out from under me. Sarah: "Almost have the full amount." Jake is so wrapped up in his baby dream, he doesn't suspect a thing. Emma: "Are you sure about this, S? It's their money. Your money." Sarah: "It's just money. Marcus's freedom is more important. I'm securing his freedom with Jake's money. He owes me that much. He owes me that much." The words leap off the screen, a casual, breathtakingly arrogant justification for her crime. I read it again, the audacity of it stealing the air from my lungs. She felt entitled to it. She saw our savings, our dream, as a resource to be plundered for the benefit of her degenerate ex. "She was bragging about it," I say, my voice a hoarse whisper. "She was proud of it." Emma nods, her expression a mixture of pity and anger. "She's lost Jake. She's been lost for a long time. The next morning, the other shoe drops. A courier delivers a thick envelope to Emma's door, my name on the front. Inside, a stack of legal documents. Sarah hasn't been idle. She's filed for an emergency court order, a restraining order based on false domestic violence claims. She's petitioning to have me removed from our home, the home I owned before we even met, and is seeking to freeze all my personal assets, claiming I'm a threat to her safety and financially unstable. It's a classic, vicious countermove. She's not just defending herself, she's attacking, trying to paint me as the villain, to strip me of my resources and my credibility. The legal jargon is dense, but the message is clear. She's trying to bury me. That night, the reality of my situation crashes down on me. I'm sitting at Emma's small kitchen table, the legal documents spread out before me, a glass of cheap red wine in my hand. The woman I married is trying to destroy me. She's stolen my future, and now she's trying to steal my present. Emma sits across from me, her own glass of wine untouched. She watches me, her eyes full of a fierce, protective light I haven't seen before. "She's not going to get away with this," she says, her voice a low, determined growl. "How am I going to fight this, Em?" I ask, the despair a heavy weight in my chest. She's taken everything. The money for the lawyer. The money for anything. "We'll figure it out," she says, her conviction unwavering. "We'll find a way." We talk for hours, the wine loosening our tongues, the shared crisis forging a new, deeper bond between us. We dissect Sarah's lies, strategize our response. Emma's mind is sharp, her insights into Sarah's psychology unerring. She helps me see the patterns I was blind to, the manipulations I excused as quirks. As the second bottle of wine dwindles, the conversation shifts. We move from the legal battle to the dream that was stolen. I talk about the years of trying, the hope and the heartbreak, the feeling that my life's purpose was to be a father. My voice cracks, the raw emotion I've been holding back finally spilling out. Emma listens, her expression softening, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "She had no right to take that from you," she whispers. "It was my last chance," I say, the words heavy with finality. "I'm 40 next month. It's over." Emma is quiet for a long moment, her gaze fixed on me, a strange, intense look in her eyes. "Maybe not," she says, her voice barely audible. I look at her, confused. "What do you mean?" She takes a deep breath, as if steeling herself for a momentous leap. "She destroyed your dreams, Jake. So let's build new ones." The air in the small kitchen suddenly feels charged, electric. I stare at her, my mind struggling to process her words. "You mean that?" She reaches across the table, her hand covering mine. Her touch is warm, firm, a steady anchor in the swirling chaos of my life. "I've wanted a baby for years, Jake," she says, her voice trembling slightly, but her gaze unwavering. "My last relationship ended because he didn't. I'm 36. My clock is ticking too." The implication of her words hangs in the air between us, a staggering, life-altering possibility. My heart starts to pound, a frantic, hopeful rhythm against my ribs. I look at her hand on mine, then back at her face. I see not just a friend offering comfort, but a woman offering a lifeline. A shared dream, a new future. Are you saying what I think you're saying?" I ask, my voice hoarse. She gives my hand a gentle squeeze, a small, brave smile touching her lips. "I'm saying we could do this, together, you and me." The cold, sterile legal documents on the table suddenly seem insignificant, a relic from a dead past. The warmth of Emma's hand, the quiet determination in her eyes, that feels real. that feels like the future. As we sit there, our hands clasped together across the small table, a crazy, audacious plan begins to form. A counterattack born not of revenge, but of a shared, desperate hope. The decision, once made, feels like the first breath of clean air after years in a smoke-filled room. The plan is simple, audacious, and terrifying. Emma will be my surrogate. We will have a child together, not as a couple in the traditional sense, but as co-parents, two friends united by a shared dream and a common enemy. It's a defiant act of creation in the face of destruction. We spend the next few days in a whirlwind of research, consulting with lawyers who specialize in surrogacy and reproductive rights, a different breed from the pit bulls Sarah has unleashed. We are building a new future, one documented step at a time. The 48-hour truce with the police detective expires. I inform him through my new lawyer that there will be no domestic resolution. The theft charges stand. The battle lines are drawn. But Sarah, ever the strategist, has one more card to play. My lawyer calls me, his voice grim. "Jake, we have a problem. Sarah's lawyer somehow got wind of your surrogacy plan with Emma." "How?" I ask, a cold dread seeping into my bones. "We've been so careful." "I don't know how," he replies, his voice tight with frustration. "A lucky guess, a mole, it doesn't matter. What matters is what they're doing with it. They're filing a motion to have Emma disqualified as a potential character witness, claiming she's not an impartial party. They're painting this as a vindictive plot, a conspiracy to create a revenge baby to spite Sarah. They're threatening to expose the entire plan in open court, to frame you as a manipulative monster and Emma as a home-wrecking opportunist. The threat is a masterful piece of psychological warfare. Sarah is trying to turn our hope into something ugly, to shame us into abandoning our last chance. My lawyer is rattled. He advises caution, a tactical retreat. "Maybe we should put the surrogacy on hold," he suggests, "just until the divorce and the theft case are settled." But I can't. To retreat now would be to let her win, to let her poison this one pure thing that has emerged from the wreckage of her betrayal. I think of the future, a future she tried to steal, and a new resolve hardens within me. I will not be cowed. I will not be shamed. The courtroom is cold, sterile, the air thick with tension. I stand beside my lawyer, my hands clasped behind my back. Across the room, Sarah sits beside her attorney, her face a mask of bitter resentment. And in my arms, wrapped in a soft blue blanket, is my daughter. My daughter. 6 months old, with a tuft of dark hair and my eyes. I look down at her perfect, sleeping face, and a wave of love so fierce it takes my breath away washes over me. Her name is Hope. I look up, my gaze meeting Sarah's. She's staring at us, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock, fury, and a deep, bottomless well of regret. This is the moment she created, the future she inadvertently forged. She thought she was destroying me, but she was only clearing the path for something better. She tried to take my dream, so I built a new one, a better one. Her plan to expose us, to shame us with her revenge-breeding accusations, backfired spectacularly. When her lawyer tried to introduce it in the preliminary hearings, the judge, a stern, no-nonsense woman, had shut it down immediately, calling it irrelevant and inflammatory. It only served to make Sarah look desperate and vindictive. This isn't a dream. It's a flash forward, a vision of the victory to come. It's the anchor point, the fixed destination on the map of this war. The image of holding my daughter, of seeing the defeat in Sarah's eyes, solidifies in my mind, a talisman against the fear and doubt. The vision fades, And I'm back in the present, on the phone with my lawyer, the threat of Sarah's latest attack still hanging heavy in the air. But something has shifted inside me. The fear is gone, replaced by an unshakable certainty. No, I say, my voice clear and firm. We're not putting anything on hold. We're doubling down. Jake, be reasonable, my lawyer pleads. This could get ugly. It's already ugly, I counter. She made it ugly when she stole our future. Now she wants to dictate the terms of my recovery? No. We're moving forward, and we're going on the offensive. I hang up the phone and turn to Emma, who has been watching me, her expression a mixture of anxiety and hope. I tell her about the threat, about our lawyer's recommendation to retreat. I see the fear in her eyes, the worry that this beautiful, fragile dream we've started to build will be shattered before it can even begin. What do we do? She asks, her voice small. We fight, I say, taking her hands in mine. We don't hide. We don't back down. We show them that this isn't about revenge. It's about life. It's about hope. A new energy courses through me, a sense of empowerment I haven't felt in years. Sarah's betrayal, her attempts to control and manipulate, have inadvertently freed me. I am no longer bound by the need to please her, to compromise, to walk on eggshells. The next day, I instruct my lawyer to file our response. We are not only proceeding with the surrogacy, but we are also filing for divorce on the grounds of adultery and financial malfeasance. We are suing for full restitution of the stolen funds, plus punitive damages for emotional distress and the sabotage of our fertility treatments. We are demanding the house, the assets, everything. We are not just defending, we are attacking. We are taking back control. The battle is far from over. The path ahead is fraught with legal mines and emotional ambushes. But for the first time since I saw that zero in our bank account, I feel a sense of power. Sarah may have started this war, but I am going to finish it. And as I look at Emma, her face illuminated by the morning sun streaming through her apartment window, a new, fierce hope blooming in her eyes, I know I'm not fighting alone. The decision to go on the offensive ignites a fire in me. The days of reacting to Sarah's moves are over. It's time to create our own reality, to build our future so solidly that her attempts to tear it down become futile. My father passed away a few years ago, leaving me a modest inheritance that I had kept separate, a nest egg for a rainy day. The storm is here. Without a moment's hesitation, I walk into my bank and transfer $50,000 into a new, secure account. This isn't a baby fund for Sarah to plunder. This is the seed of a new life. The first $10,000 goes to a top-tier IVF clinic, the kind that doesn't blink at complex surrogacy arrangements. We schedule our initial consultations, the medical appointments a tangible step forward. Every payment is documented, every receipt filed away by my lawyer. We are building a fortress of legitimacy, brick by meticulous brick. This is not a whim. It's a carefully planned, medically sanctioned journey towards parenthood. When Sarah learns of the IVF deposit, her desperation boils over. She calls me, her voice a shrill, panicked shriek. You can't do this, Jake. You can't just replace me. You can't replace our dream with my best friend. The call is on speakerphone. Emma is sitting beside me, a calm, steady presence in the face of Sarah's storm. Before I can even formulate a response, Emma leans forward, her voice cool and clear. I'm not replacing you, Sarah, she says, the words cutting through the static of Sarah's hysteria. I'm upgrading him. There's a stunned silence on the other end of the line, followed by a sputtering, incoherent rage before Sarah slams the phone down. Emma and I look at each other, a slow smile spreading across my face. In that single, perfect sentence, Emma has encapsulated our new reality. This isn't about replacing what was lost. It's about building something better. A week later, the next piece of the puzzle clicks into place. My lawyer calls, and I can hear the satisfaction in his voice. "You're not going to believe this," he says. "The verdict came in for Marcus." I hold my breath. "And?" "Guilty, on all counts. The judge threw the book at him. Seems your $47,000 wasn't enough to buy him a get-out-of-jail-free card. He's been sentenced to 18 months in a state facility. No parole." The news is a profound, cosmic recalibration. Sarah sacrificed everything. Her marriage, her integrity, our future, for nothing. The man she destroyed our lives to save is going to prison anyway. Her grand, misguided gesture was a complete and utter failure. The futility of her betrayal is now laid bare, a stark and pathetic monument to her terrible judgment. I imagine her hearing the news, the sickening realization that she has torched her entire life for a lost cause. For the first time, I almost feel a flicker of pity for her. Almost. Her defeat emboldens us. The legal battle intensifies, but the momentum has shifted. Her claims of domestic abuse and financial control seem increasingly flimsy in the face of her own documented theft and deceit. Our case, built on a foundation of cold, hard facts and righteous indignation, grows stronger by the day. The clinic appointments become a new routine. The medical procedures, the hormone injections for Emma, the endless waiting. It's a stark contrast to the emotional roller coaster of trying with Sarah. This journey is clinical, purposeful, a partnership built on trust and a shared goal. There's a quiet intimacy in it, a bond forged in sterile waiting rooms and late-night conversations about genetic possibilities and parenting philosophies. Our divorce and custody hearing is scheduled for next month. It's a date that looms large on the calendar, the final showdown in this long and bitter war. Coincidentally, it falls in the same week that Emma's first pregnancy test results are due. The two timelines, one of destruction and one of creation, are converging. The end of my old life and the potential beginning of my new one are set to collide in a single, momentous week. The night before the first 2-week wait is over, Emma and I are sitting in her living room, a nervous energy crackling between us. The small, white stick, the potential arbiter of our future, sits on the coffee table between us, still in its box. "Are you scared?" she asks, her voice soft. "Terrified," I admit, my own voice barely a whisper. "But in a good way. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm terrified of something wonderful happening, not something terrible." She smiles, a genuine, beautiful smile that lights up her face. "Me too." The next morning, we will know. We will know if our audacious act of hope has taken root. We will know if, while Sarah was busy trying to tear down our past, we have successfully built a future. The stakes have never been higher. The custody of my old life and the creation of my new one are hanging in the balance, waiting for a verdict from a judge and a result from a simple plastic test. The courtroom is a pressure cooker. The air is thick and still, heavy with the weight of unspoken animosity and shattered trust. I sit at the plaintiff's table, my shoulders back, my suit feeling less like a costume and more like armor. Beside me, Emma is a vision of calm composure, though I can feel the slight tremor in the hand she rests on my arm. Across the aisle, Sarah looks diminished. The defiant fury she wore during our last confrontation has been replaced by a pale, brittle anxiety. She's thinner, her eyes darting nervously around the room, avoiding my gaze. The news of Marcus's conviction has clearly broken something in her. Judge Morrison, the same judge Sarah had tried to impress with her high-priced legal team, presides over the hearing. She is a formidable presence, her face stern and impassive, her eyes missing nothing. She has already reviewed the evidence from the theft charges, which have been rolled into these divorce proceedings. The paper trail is undeniable. Sarah's lawyer, a slick, overconfident man whose composure seems to be fraying at the edges, begins his defense. He tries to paint Sarah as a desperate, misguided woman, a victim of her own compassion, manipulated by a charismatic ex. He speaks of her love for me, of her desire for a family, trying to soften the edges of her crime. "My client made a terrible mistake, Your Honor," he argues, his voice oozing a practiced sincerity. "A mistake born of a misplaced sense of loyalty, not malice. She intended to pay the money back." My lawyer, a sharp, methodical woman named Miss Albright, rises to her feet. "Your Honor," she says, her voice clear and cutting, "intention is irrelevant in the face of action. And the actions of the defendant were not just a mistake, they were a calculated act of theft and betrayal." She projects the text messages between Sarah and Emma onto the large screen at the front of the courtroom. The words are stark, damning in the silent, solemn room. Sarah: "Almost have the full amount. Jake is so wrapped up in his baby dream he doesn't suspect a thing." Sarah: "I'm securing his freedom with Jake's money. He owes me that much." A collective murmur ripples through the small gallery. Sarah flinches as if struck, her face turning a blotchy red. The words, her own words, hang in the air, a testament to her cold, premeditated deceit. Miss Albright isn't finished. She calls Emma to the stand. Emma walks with a quiet confidence, her steps even, her head held high. She recounts the conversations she had with Sarah, her attempts to reason with her, to warn her of the consequences. Her testimony is clear, concise, and devastatingly credible. Sarah's lawyer tries to cross-examine her, to discredit her, to paint her as the opportunistic other woman. "Miss Hayes," he begins, his tone dripping with insinuation, "isn't it true that you and Mr. Davison are now in a relationship? That you are, in fact, attempting to have a child together?" "Mr. Davison and I are dear friends," Emma replies, her voice steady, her gaze unwavering. "And yes, we are trying to build a family that his wife tried to destroy." The lawyer smirks. "A revenge, baby, one might call it." Before Emma can answer, Miss Albright is on her feet. "Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is being argumentative and inflammatory. The circumstances of my client's current path to fatherhood are not on trial here. The defendant's theft is—" "Sustained," Judge Morrison says, her voice sharp. She fixes Sarah's lawyer with a withering glare. "Move on, counsel, and choose your next words carefully." He stumbles through the rest of his cross-examination, his attack blunted, his narrative of a vindictive conspiracy dismantled. Finally, it's Sarah's turn to take the stand. She's sworn in, her hand trembling as she rests it on the Bible. Her lawyer leads her through a carefully rehearsed speech, a litany of excuses and deflections. She talks about Marcus's troubled past, her fear for his future, her belief that she was the only one who could save him. Then, she turns to me, her eyes pleading, swimming with tears. "I thought you'd understand, Jake," she says, her voice breaking. "I really did. Marcus was so desperate. I was desperate." When it's my turn to speak, I don't stand. I remain seated, my gaze locked with hers. My voice, when I finally find it, is quiet, but carries the weight of every lie, every broken promise. "So was our marriage," I say, the words landing with a heavy finality in the silent room. "But you chose him." The simple truth of it seems to suck the air out of her. The fight drains from her eyes, replaced by a vast, empty despair. She has no response. There is nothing left to say. The judge's verdict is swift and merciless. She grants the divorce. She orders full restitution of the $47,000, to be garnished from Sarah's future wages if necessary. She awards me the house and all its assets, citing Sarah's financial malfeasance as a primary factor. And then, she delivers the final, crushing blow. Furthermore, Judge Morrison says, her voice ringing with authority, due to the egregious nature of the defendant's actions and the clear emotional distress inflicted upon the plaintiff, I am awarding an additional $50,000 in punitive damages. A gasp escapes Sarah's lips. Her lawyer stares, slack-jawed. It's a total, unequivocal victory, a legal validation of all the pain and betrayal I have endured. As the judge bangs her gavel, signaling the end of the hearing, a court officer approaches our table, a sealed envelope in his hand. It's from the clinic, delivered by courier moments ago. The pregnancy test results. My hand trembles as I take the envelope. This is it. The final verdict. Emma squeezes my hand, her knuckles white. I tear it open, my eyes scanning the page, my heart pounding in my chest. And then I see it. A single word. Positive. A slow grin spreads across my face. I turn to Emma, my eyes shining with a joy so profound it feels sacred. I show her the paper, and a small, relieved sob escapes her lips. She throws her arms around my neck, and we cling to each other. A silent, tearful celebration in the midst of the legal wreckage. Miss Albright, seeing the result, smiles. With a nod from me, she approaches the bench. "Your Honor," she says, her voice ringing with a quiet triumph, "we would like to enter one final piece of evidence into the record." She hands the positive pregnancy test result to the clerk, who passes it up to the judge. Judge Morrison reads it, her stern expression softening for just a fraction of a second. She looks at me, at Emma, then back at the broken woman sobbing at the defendant's table. The document is entered into evidence. It's official. Our new beginning, born from the ashes of a bitter end, is now a matter of public record. The aftermath is a quiet unraveling. Sarah, stripped of her assets and saddled with a debt that will shadow her for years, moves back in with her mother. The house we once shared, now mine alone, feels cavernous and empty, haunted by the ghost of a life that was never real. I see her once, a few weeks after the hearing, when she comes to collect the last of her things. She is a wraith, her eyes hollow, her movements slow and hesitant. There are no apologies, no final dramatic confrontation. There is only a vast, silent gulf of regret between us. We are strangers who happen to share a history. Marcus, I hear, is serving his 18 months in a medium security facility upstate. His name, once a constant, corrosive presence in my life, fades into irrelevance. He is a problem for the state now, no longer for me. Life pivots, turning away from the wreckage and towards the tentative green shoots of a new beginning. Emma and I, now bound by a shared future, navigate the strange, uncharted territory of our new relationship. We are not lovers, but we are more than friends. We are partners, co-conspirators in the audacious act of creating a family. 6 months later, the house is no longer haunted. It's filled with the scent of fresh paint and the sound of laughter. The room that was to be the nursery, the one Sarah and I had planned with such hollow hope, is being transformed. We paint the walls a soft, sunny yellow, a color of our own choosing. Emma, her belly swollen with the promise of our daughter, directs the operation from a comfortable armchair, a smudge of paint on her nose. As I roll a fresh coat of yellow onto the walls, I feel a kick against my back where Emma has playfully propped her feet. I turn, and she's smiling, her hand resting on her belly. "She's a feisty one," Emma says, her voice full of a quiet wonder. I place my hand next to hers, feeling the faint, rhythmic thumping from within. Our daughter. Hope. She is real. She is coming. We talk for hours as we work, planning, dreaming, building a future one brushstroke at a time. We talk about schools and lullabies, about how we'll explain our unconventional family to our daughter when she's old enough to ask. And we find, to our mutual surprise, that the answers come easily. We will tell her the truth, that she was born of a great love, not between her parents in the traditional sense, but a great love for her. That she was wanted so desperately that 2 friends moved heaven and earth to bring her into the world. The money Sarah stole, the fund that was supposed to be our future, became something else entirely. It became the catalyst, the cleansing fire that burned away a life built on a lie. It forced me onto a different path, a path that led me here, to this sun-drenched room with this incredible woman, feeling the flutter of my daughter's kicks. Sarah didn't just steal a baby fund. She set me free. She thought she was destroying my future. But in her selfish, short-sighted betrayal, she inadvertently built me a better one, a real one. A future with someone who chooses us every single day in every single way. And for that, in the strangest, most unexpected way, I will be forever grateful. The dream is dead. Long live the dream.